Hi guys, Jen here with Astrology and Earth Magic. So we're trying it again, coming outside. Hopefully, like the last video that we tried this in, we won't get rained on and poured on halfway through. But we're gonna give it a shot because it is actually pretty warm today. So we have coming up, we're gonna talk about our first full moon of spring, and that is coming up on Wednesday, April 1st at 12 degrees of Libra, and it's going to be at its fullest Eastern Standard Time here at 10 p.m. 10:12 p.m. So this new moon is known as the pink moon, getting its name from the early spring blooms of pink wildflowers, mostly the phlox, the creeping phlox. If you have any of those, mine aren't quite ready yet, but we kind of live up high and we get everything to bloom a little bit later than everybody else. But just get you a little bit excited for spring coming, because we do have some bulbs starting to push through the ground and we're seeing tulips out. So it's coming. Spring is on its way. So this is known as the pink moon, and this is also known as the Paschal moon. So, and that is because this moon is used to determine when Easter will be celebrated. So I'm going to have a couple fun facts for you. So, according to the Farmer's Almanac, Easter is celebrated on the first Sunday after the Paschal moon, which is this first full moon of spring. So the first full moon after the vernal equinox, which was the vernal equinox was on March 20th. Now the full Libra full moon, the first full moon after that vernal equinox, is landing on April 1st, and then the following Sunday after that is when Easter is then celebrated, which is going to be on Sunday, April 5th. And that's also my sister's birthday, so happy birthday. So yes, it all revolves around astrology, which we notice in so many videos of things in history and timing. A lot of it revolves around, moon phases and astrology. So Easter is that movable feast, and so it's not the actual date that Jesus resurrected from the dead, but it is the day that they celebrate it, and it changes year to year depending on when the full moon falls. So there are other factors involved, but essentially this is how the date is determined. So go astrology, always just kind of like the cornerstone of timing. So this full moon in Libra falls again, like I said, on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, as it's known here in the United States and in many other Western cultures. So another fun fact for you, so full of them today. So April Fool's Day, or it's also called All Fool's Day, dates back centuries. But no one really knows what its true origins were. But it is said it may go back to 1582 in France. And this is when they switched from using the Julian calendar to the Gregorian calendar. So thus it's changing the date of New Year's from March 25th to April 1st, like sun ingress into Aries, starting that astrological new year, to its new date, which is now January 1st, which we celebrate it today. So yes, astrology again, being the timing. So people who continued to celebrate according to the Julian calendar were known as, back then, as April Fools. So I'm sure these people were astrologers and not ready to make that change. So like, no. This is when the zodiac starts, when the sun moves into Aries, so this is when the year starts. This is a zodiacal year, but the year now, the calendar year starts January 1st. So anyway, I bring this up because these days, a lot of us are fooled into believing certain things. Many of us are stubborn and resistant to change that comes with when truth starts coming out, and we're very fixed in our ways and not wanting to maybe accept those truths that come out. But this year and into 2027, we're in for really this total global transformation. So we're entering a time of enlightenment, of truths, some difficult truths being exposed and brought to light. We're already seeing this starting to happen, and it's just going to continue. More things that you can't pretty much unsee. This is on a global scale and in our personal lives as well. So we'll see pretty much where we've been fooled as things start coming to the surface and start being exposed. And we'll see also where we're going to really be forced to face this truth and stop being stubborn, because, you can't unsee it. So especially when we're talking about things that come with the Epstein files or things to that nature, those really kind of crazy things, in aliens and things like that coming out that you just never thought were true, and oh, I don't believe in aliens. Well, all of a sudden you might be forced to believe, and that people can do some horrible things as well with what we're finding out in the Epstein files so far. So we'll see. I'm sure a lot more will come out. We have Uranus going into Gemini next month on the 25th. Next week we're going to be doing a video about that, so I'm not going to get too much into that, but that is kind of just that quick information that's going to come out. So I expect a lot more to come out as we move through the end of April. So back to this moon, because this is a full moon in Libra, it's a Venusian ruled sign, and it also is in a T-square to Jupiter. I'll explain all that a little bit more, but it can over accentuate things, negative things, because it is a square. A square is a difficult aspect. So now it's actually a double square if you think about it, because the sun and the moon are both squared because they're in opposition, and they're both squared to Jupiter, which creates the T square shape. So Libra also, negative effects might start bubbling up about, what comes out of Libra, the shadow side. So Libra tends to overthink things, and much focus is about vanity, and about those superficial things, like, am I pretty enough? Am I thin enough? Does my partner still find me attractive? Things like that, things that you might overthink. Why don't people like me? Do they like me? And, so you have those insecurities that could start kind of bubbling up, and you could be overthinking them because Jupiter could be accentuating this a little bit. You could have that feeling of inadequacy, feeling unequal, and just kind of looking for validation in other ways. So it could lead you to do maybe some things because you want to feel better about yourself that might end up making you feel worse about yourself in the long run. So you want to be mindful and don't let those insecurities ruin a good thing, especially if you're in a relationship, or if you're at a job and you're feeling like those feelings of inadequacies are just like bubbling up, and maybe you're not feeling good enough, and so you start looking for something else and doing something that could ruin a good thing. So you want to be mindful of that. Be mindful that there is this square going on, this T-square, and that your mind might be like have that tendency to overthink and start planting these bad seeds inside, and this is at a peak. So full moons always are a little bit over emotional, you could say, and especially since we have that square, the T square to Jupiter, which is in a water sign of Cancer, which could kind of exacerbate your emotions a little bit. So, you don't want to have your physical or mental health get affected by what's going on in your head if it's just something that's going on in your head and not actually reality. But also, you don't want to be fooled into putting effort in where you shouldn't. So like trying super hard for something that is really just kind of a lost cause. So you want to be wary of that as well. So on Monday coming up, would be 2 days prior to this full moon, Libra's ruler, which is Venus, will have moved into the sign of her dignity. So out of the detriment in Aries into her dignity in Taurus. But even though that's great, it will be in an applying square to Pluto. So this can show control issues. This can show control issues in relationships. Maybe that your partner is trying to control you, or maybe you're trying too hard to control, to be in control and fighting to be in control. And also kind of that obsession, compulsion type thing going on. So if this is going on, it might be time to make that change. So this is the full moon. This is, kind of, going forward. What have we learned up to this point? And going forward, what do we need to release in order to move on now that we have this new knowledge? So you want to look for, the subtle clues to come up when the opportunity presents itself. You want to take that chance to get out if you need to, if you feel like there's something, or to bring up, to talk, maybe even if this has to do with control issues, even at work or in friendship, maybe, when these things start to pop up, maybe you'll start knowing when it's time maybe to bring this up or to get out if you need to, like I said. Also, with this Pluto square, I can't help but tie it in, and I've been talking about this in a few different videos, but think those trying to really transform their bodies and kind of becoming, obsessed with, say, thinness, for instance. And, maybe the side effects of this are not going to be so great. So what goes along with it is going to be kind of that negative. Like, I'm trying to transform myself and feel better, look better, but these side effects are really, wreaking havoc in my body. So speaking about, obviously, all of these lose weight quick drugs, there's shots, there's pills, there's water drops, there's a million different things. And I swear every other commercial is about this, and just dropping weight, and all they're claiming that they're the magic cure for obesity. But how can it really be healthy? It's stopping you from wanting to eat, but you still have to eat to an extent. But it also is taking away muscle, and we're starting to see pictures coming out of people that weren't really big in the first place. These are made for really obese people that need help, that are diabetic, and people that really just don't need it are taking them just to lose weight, and you can see in their faces the muscle loss. So don't be fooled again by something potentially harmful, because now we're at that peak. So you could be, if you did start taking these with, say, the new moon, and all of a sudden you're coming up and saying, like, something doesn't feel right. No, this is at its peak. You need to know when to stop, or when to stop obsessing over this kind of thing and stop that, like, planning to do, these things that could potentially harm yourself. And I've said this, like, in previous other videos, again, that the truth will come out, and we're already starting to see, I think I see at least one lawsuit, someone saying, they're having, horrible stomach issues having to do with these drugs. And now that Venus is through Pisces, so that's that illusion and disillusion. So the illusion of, I'm gonna, be perfect if I do these things. And then Aries, and then she moves into Aries, which is, I want this done now. Like, I need it immediately. I can't just diet and work out for a year. I need it now. And now that Venus is in Taurus, it will be a little bit more grounded, a little bit more practical, logical, ready to actually, put the work in and say, slow and steady is what wins the race in the long run. And, these drugs, once you're off of them, what's going to happen? Do you gain all the weight back? My life, there's been, back in the 80s, 70s, there's been so many of these kind of drugs that come out that are supposed to help you lose weight. But there always then comes out, maybe a year or so later, lawsuits and all this stuff because the harm that it does. So you want to keep that in mind before you do something that could potentially harm yourself for ever, I guess, you could say. So I think, we'll find out all this stuff that promises this illusion and, of perfection by losing weight, or by, I would say, just transforming your body in an unhealthy way, is actually very dangerous. And if it lasts forever, we don't know the repercussions of the long-term effects of these things that you could do that changes the way you appear, that Venusian, that that vanity that you might have, that superficiality that you have, that outside appearance. Trying to change that could affect you for the rest of your life. So now back to the T-square. Enough with my lecturing. So back to that T-square with Jupiter. So the sun is our purpose, our drive, and our ego. So remember, our ego is squaring Jupiter. So we could feel a little bit over the top. Our ego, we don't want it to be bruised, but it could be very inflated right now with this square. We could have a very inflated ego, and our moon is our needs, our emotional well-being, and our feeling of security. So because of this inflated ego, our mood swings could be really high. We could go from angry to, almost kind of like a bipolar type thing, where we have these mood swings because you feel like you're deserving of certain things. Squaring Jupiter is our moral compass and our optimism, and also our chance at luck and good fortune. So with this square, we could be thinking like, I deserve this. I need to be getting this raise. It could really throw us off balance mentally and in other ways, because we're looking for opportunities to support this. Like, okay, I should be getting a raise because I have worked hard and I'm the best worker. And, so that inflated egos could get knocked down if we're not given this good fortune because of this square to Jupiter. So we could, be getting angry easier, and again, giving up on a good thing because we feel like we're overly deserving of something that maybe we might not be as of yet, because the opportunities might not have presented themselves as of yet. We still are looking for those open doors, and they could be subtle. Like I've said in past videos, these signs could be very subtle signs, so you want to keep your eyes open for them, so that and you'll feel it inside when it's right. But again, we could be feeling stuck, like, okay, like our lives are really on a seesaw, and either you're at the top, so maybe you're at the top, you're overly confident, you're that dominating force, you're up higher than everybody else, hanging up there, but you're all by yourself, kind of, wanting someone to be equal, maybe feeling like, that head honcho wasn't the greatest thing in the world, because now maybe you're separated, maybe from your coworkers that you were close with at one time, or even maybe your partner, your life partner. Maybe if you're in a relationship where you've grown, but they've stayed the same, or stuck in a nowhere job where you can't even get any higher. You're at a peak, and you're kind of just sitting there, and you can't come down. You can't, nobody wants to go down, but you can't go up any higher, and there's no one that's going to balance you. So you're kind of just feeling a little bit trapped. Or are you at the bottom? Are you stuck down there? Do you feel unworthy? Maybe your ego is deflated, so it's keeping you and holding you down. Are you feeling neglected? You see others around you maybe climbing that ladder, moving up, but you're kind of just stuck sitting there at the bottom, and it's like, okay, why am I not getting recognized? You want to feel pampered. You want to feel like you're on a pedestal, but you're feeling like, I'm not given these opportunities. So, why is this door not opening up for me? Does it seem like it's happening for everybody else? So that again is that overthinking things and thinking that everyone else is getting everything they want, but why aren't you getting everything you want? So again, you want to kind of try and deflate your ego a little bit so that you level it off. Keep your mind balanced, keep your mind in harmony, and you can keep your body in harmony and keep that stress harmonized so that you're in balance and you're a little bit more focused on what is actually going on. Again, we have things starting to move into Taurus, so things are going to take time. It's a little bit slower of a sign than Aries, so we're going to start slowing down a little bit and start really putting the work in, and just instead of just expecting things to happen. We're right now at a turning point, a time to make a choice to continue to use this knowledge and to use the strength that you've gained to really move on. And this T-square in the cardinal signs, we have the sun in, the T-squares in the cardinal signs. So the sun in Aries, moon in Libra, and Jupiter in Cancer. So it is about taking a chance and using your intuition really to know what changes you should take and where to really put the work in. So it's going to be, these times can be difficult, when you're taking that chance, when you are seeing, okay, so maybe I need to look for a different job. Maybe I need to look for a different partner. Maybe I need to, get out of this relationship that's over and controlling, or where I feel like I might be over controlling, or I don't feel like we're equals anymore. You're going to come up and face these hard choices. This is a square aspect, but once you can work through them and make the hard choices and so that you can grow and expand. You expand your confidence, expand your worth, and then good fortune is sure to come your way once you start exuding that confidence, but not overconfidence. You don't want to be overly confident or almost cocky. You want to come through as, I'm confident and I can do this, and let people see that in you, without coming through as a kind of a know-it-all type thing. So you want to watch that Jupiter. That Jupiter can really play in two different ways. And even if you look at the Wheel of Fortune card in tarot, which Jupiter relates to, it's ups and downs. So, sometimes inflation can be not so great. So again, it's ups and downs. Like, our life can feel like that seesaw our whole life. Even our love life can feel the same, but love is not a competition. We need to be equal. So you don't need anyone being dominant of you, and you don't want to be dominant of them. It's not, who wears the pants in the family. You want to equally share that, and you want to be equals. You don't want to feel like, and if you don't feel like that, if you feel like you're being over dominated, or if you feel like, this person isn't, growing and changing with me, and things aren't just working out, maybe it's time that you kind of let that go. So now we're at that peak, they're at that full moon. At the full moon phase, we need to make that choice. Okay, so now that we're going to be in the waning mood phase, what are we taking with us? Are we taking these relationships with us? Are we taking these jobs? Or are we just taking the knowledge that we learn from them and then moving on and bringing that in our life so that we can go on to our next chapter? We have Mars in an applying sextile also to Uranus, and we also have our Saturn-Pluto sextile that I talked about in the last video, and I'll link that up here and at the end as well. This can truly, these changes that we make and these decisions that we make can truly transform our lives. And it's all just a building effect. And it can be a slow build, because this is a lot of outer planet changes. So as things are building, we could see those open doors. Like I said, we could see those opportunities. We could face those hard decisions. But the effects of them might not come out right away. We need to take a chance. We need to stay focused on our goals. So what is your goals? Whatever that may be, you want to work with these aspects and use these to your benefit, no matter, if they are the harsh aspects. And sometimes the square aspects really push us harder. you know, the sextiles are, they're kind of like that helping hand that kind of just guide us, and just kind of like what I said in my last video, they're kind of like your wingman. They kind of give you a little bit of a boost. Where the trines, they're almost, you know, it's there, but you have to put the work in. Where the squares, you know, and if, you know, you feel like you're doing okay and the trines are there, you might not put the work in. So like, I'm going good. But when a square comes up, things can be a little bit difficult. So you'll put the work in a little bit more once you see these squares come up, and you start feeling uncomfortable, and you start knowing like, okay, something has to give, something has to change. So you want to work with these aspects and not just run from them. So if you're looking at your chart and you're like, oh my God, this T square is hitting my MC, or it's hitting my DC. So, you know, that's going to mess up my relationship, or it's going to mess up my job or something. You want to work with it so that, you know, you can get over those difficulties, work through those difficulties, whatever those may be. And that way you can start building towards your future. So life is really a series of learning experience, and their cycles, just like the moon cycles. You know, if you think about how your life goes, it's got its ups and downs. It's like, you know, just like the Wheel of Fortune, like good things and then bad things, and things will be going great and you'll go right back down. So it's just like those waxing and waning moon cycles. Like things start building and then things start kind of relaxing a little bit. We need to, oh geez, sorry about that. So we need to release what is holding us back so that we can move ahead. Now that we're at this full moon, we want to just like use it as like you're on top of a mountain. You're just like, just letting the breeze take all the bad stuff away, take all the stuff that's holding you back away. And that way you can move ahead with the strength and knowledge that you gained through this work that you've put in, so that each chapter of your life and each phase of your life, we get closer and closer to our destiny that is promised to us in our natal charts. Again, just because it's in there, it's showing us what we can gain if we put in the work, if we work towards it. It's not something, you know, it's called the natal promise, but it's not promised to you if you don't put the work in. So you have to do that. So work with these aspects, work with these full moons, work with the new moons to try and get through the rough patches so that you can see those open doors, and those opportunities will come your way. So thank you all for checking in with me. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments about this full moon and everything that's coming up. Lots coming up next month, especially with that Uranus, the last of our outer planets, moving into Gemini. And that's actually happening the day after Venus moves into Gemini. So a lot of Gemini coming up, a lot of things being exposed, knowledge coming out. And like I said, especially with Venus and then Uranus the next day, I think I would not be surprised if stuff comes out about these, you know, these drugs, about losing weight. Anyway, I said I was done lecturing. So again, thank everybody. I thank you all for checking in and watching this video and all my videos. If you please like and subscribe, I appreciate every view. Like, subscribe, anything. It really helps boost the channel, and I hope you continue watching, so hit that notification bell as well. Lots of fun videos coming up, so stay tuned for those, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.